No, Mom and I were looking at that online.
Working on it there. And it's clicking. What the fuck?
You got mail.
Number 5. Sandy McNulty, age 27, had just recently gone through a divorce. Within the same month, she signed up for Match.com and a few days later received a strange email. The email addressed Sandy by her full name with a long paragraph explaining that the sender knew of her recent breakup and thought that they would make a great couple. The sender asked for Sandy to get back to him about what she thought. The email was signed anonymously, but there was also a file attached to it. It was a large picture of a man's genitalia. She assumed it was her ex at first, but the picture did not resemble him, and when confronted, he was sincere in telling her that it wasn't him. Plus, she told that he wasn't the type to do anything like this. Sandy continued to receive emails from the anonymous sender, with each one getting more angry and aggressive. She did the best she could of ignoring it, until attached to one of the emails was a picture of the side of her house taken that night. She blocked the sender's email finally, and that was the last she ever heard from any of this. It's still unknown whether it was the ex sending the emails or not. Number 4. A former Reddit user at one point posted a story of a scary email he received. He had one day received a text message from an unknown number telling him to check his email as soon as possible. He obliged and found a message in all capitals titled, "Download this now." It was a short message addressed to the user with his full name, address, phone number, and all. There were 5 files attached, 4 of them pictures, and one an exe file titled, "Download this now." Each one of the pictures was very personal to the user. The first one pictured his house. He recognized to be his mom. The third, a picture of him as a baby. And the fourth, a random picture of a creepy middle-aged man. The user didn't open the exe file, instead reporting the email to the police. It's unknown what the exe file was. The Reddit post was taken down within the same month. Number 3. Father David of a small New York town church had an email address dedicated to his church. He received a strange email with no title, and upon opening it, his computer crashed and he got a blue screen. He would have trouble restarting until finally successfully logging on to have all his files and data gone, and his screen wallpaper was a large and shockingly disturbing and realistic image of Satan. Internet Explorer, along with other important programs, would not open, and occasionally a distorted laughing sound effect would play in the background. It's unknown how this was accomplished, but it was most likely just a very cruel prank by a hacker with a little too much time on his hands. Number 2. In the year 2009, a huge wave of emails filled with viruses was spreading across the internet. The email titles were innocent enough. For example, some of them were titled, "Free 40% off coupon to Target." However, once opened, a virus would be forcibly installed into the user's computer without their knowledge. These viruses were known to allow all activity on the user's computer to be monitored, sometimes even giving partial or full control over the computers, and sometimes even enabling the built-in webcams to the computers secretly spying on the users as they used their computers without them ever even knowing. Nobody could seem to figure out how this was accomplished or how to prevent it, but luckily, the swarm of emails eventually died down on its own. Similar swarms of emails have since occurred on a few occasions, but not as dangerous. Number 1. The girl in this story is very sensitive about this and refuses to give her real name. So, for the purpose of this story, she'll be referred to as Jen. Jen was attending freshman year in high school. She was a very pretty girl and got the attention of a lot of guys, both young and, unfortunately, much older as well. She received an email from the dean explaining that her grades could be improved and he would like to talk to her about it at some point. Strangely, he left a note at the bottom of the email informing Jen not to respond to the email. A week passed and Jen received another email from the dean. This time, he asked her to meet him at the back of the school at 7 a.m. before classes started. Jen walked to the school and went around the day and could see somebody poking their head out from behind one of the dumpsters, not the dean. She ran all the way home and the parents reported this to the school. It turned out the dean of the school didn't send the messages at all. The email was traced back to a website that allows you to send fake anonymous emails, and the computer used to send it was the computer in the furthest corner of the local library. It was the summer of 2012. I have a late birthday, so I was still 15 when all my friends were 16. They all had jobs for the summer, but nobody would hire me because I was only 15. I started looking for off-the-books jobs on Craigslist. I found an ad titled, "Looking for house cleaning services, paying $10 an hour." The ad had 2 pictures of the house, one outside and one inside. It was a typical middle-class house. He lived in the next town over. The only way to contact him was by email, so I emailed him telling him I was only 15 years old and was willing to clean his house for $10 an hour. He responded in 10 minutes, telling me his work schedule and when he would need me to be available. I told him that was okay, and then he asked me if I had means of transportation to get there every day. I didn't even realize that my mom wouldn't be able to drive me every day. Oddly, he offered to give me a lift to and from every single day. He said he worked close, so coming home to give me a ride wouldn't be a problem. I agreed without even asking my mom, so the man asked for my address. I gave it to him, and he said he would be over at 8:30 a.m. on Monday to pick me up. Come Monday, I met him outside. He drove a black 05 Nissan Maxima. He himself had a black beard and a Mets hat on. He didn't seem dressed ready to go to work, but I didn't think much about that. He introduced himself as James, and then dropped me off and gave me the key. He told me to just straighten everything out and such. Then he drove off in a hurry. I found it really weird that he trusted me, a 15-year-old he had never met, to be in his house alone. His house wasn't even too messy. All I did was just fold some clothes, wash some dishes, and used a hand vacuum to clean some of the carpets. The only problem, it was extremely hot in the house, even hotter than outside. It seemed all the windows were sealed shut, and I didn't want to turn on the AC without permission. This went on for 6 hours before he came back, handed me $60, and dropped me off back home. He seemed extremely nice, and I felt I'd lucked out finding that ad. This went on for a good 2 weeks, and my mom was okay with it since James was actually paying me. Then, one Friday night, I woke up feeling really thirsty, so I got up to get some water. I looked out my window, and I saw somebody looking into my room. I screamed, and my parents came running over, but the person outside took off before they got there. The next time I went in, it was at least 100 degrees outside. I asked James if I could turn on the AC, but he said it was broken. He told me to just take off my clothes if I got hot. I laughed comfortable after that. He dropped me off, and I did the same work that I had been doing. It was at least 105 degrees in the house. I had to work shirtless and constantly go outside where it was just a little cooler. The day dragged on, but I just barely made it through. The next day, on the way to his house, James told me that he had the day off from work. He told me he would just help me out. I was not happy to hear this. I would rather just be alone in the house. He seemed to slowly follow me into whatever room I went to clean. I eventually had to go to the bathroom. I went upstairs and made sure he wasn't following me. But in the bathroom, I made a shocking discovery. Up in the corner of the room, I found a small camera pointing from out of the wall, just barely visible. I scanned the room for more, and sure enough, there was one in the bottom corner as well. I started searching the whole bathroom for more cameras. I checked under the sink, but what I found was much worse. There were 2 huge stacks of VHS tapes, each one with a sticky note attached with someone's name on it. The one on the top was my name. I almost threw up then and there. I had to find a way to get home safely. James then knocked on the door, asking if I was alright. I said I wasn't feeling good, and asked if he could drive me home. He said okay. I stepped outside, and he told me he had to go